out on the harsh African savanna. One of nature's most efficient hunting teams moves silently through the grass. African wild dogs, fast, intelligent, and perfectly coordinated, turn every chase into a heart-pounding hunt, where the prey has only two choices: run, or become the next meal for the entire pack. The rhinoceros is the armored tank of the savanna, built like a fortress and armed with a razor-sharp horn that radiates raw power, despite its overwhelming strength. Even this giant occasionally draws the attention of a cunning pack of African wild dogs. In these rare encounters, the pack relies on harassment tactics, circling relentlessly, probing for any sign of weakness. Yet a single thunderous charge or a forceful snort from the rhino is often enough to send the smaller predators scattering. The clash is a striking contrast brute. Muscular dominance on one side, calculated agility and opportunism on the other, an intense standoff where even a coordinated pack struggles to shake this living fortress. The footage captures a dramatic reversal of roles when the cunning leopard decides to become the hunter instead of the one hiding. Taking advantage of a moment when the wild dogs are busy enjoying their late lunch, the leopard bursts out of the bushes like an arrow, using its teeth and raw power to shock the pack. Caught completely off guard by the sudden aggression of the spotted assassin, the wild dogs scatter in confusion. By the aggressive pack of wild dogs barking loudly to intimidate it. The leopard quickly relies on its natural climbing ability to escape. In a split second, it bursts upward and races straight to the top of a towering tree, leaving the large group of frustrated opponents leaping helplessly below. Circle of wild dogs closing in. The leopard doesn't choose to fight to the death, but instead displays its masterful escape skills. With one powerful surge of its body, it shoots straight up the vertical trunk of a tree, leaving behind the desperate barking and the pack's helpless leaps below. On the open plains of the Okavango, a leopard has just taken down its prey when it suddenly finds itself facing a pack of aggressive wild dogs. Instead of backing off before the lone predator's power, the dogs move in with perfect coordination, using sharp, piercing barks and constant snapping bites to surround and overwhelm their rival. Realizing the numbers are heavily against it, the leopard has no choice but to The sun begins to rise. As wild dog, the leopard is known as the savanna's silent assassin, armed with incredible camouflage and unmatched climbing ability. However, it often finds itself at a disadvantage when facing African wild dogs, animals whose strength lies in their terrifying teamwork and pack discipline. Even though the leopard possesses powerful jaws and superior muscle, the relentless circle of snapping bites from multiple directions usually forces the lone hunter to back down to stay alive. The leopard often makes a quick escape up a tall tree, watching from above as its hard-earned prey is stolen by the pack, an unfortunate but wise decision. footage captures a dramatic reversal of roles, decides to become the one hiding, advantage of a moment when the wild dogs are busy enjoying their leopard bursts out of the bushes, using its terrifying speed to shock, caught completely off guard by the wild dog scattering, abandoning the roles, decides to become the one hiding, advantage of a moment when taking the wild The savanna trembles beneath the steps of a true moving fortress, where the rhinoceros displays its thick, armor-like hide and unmatched power. The encounter between this silent giant and a cunning pack of African wild dogs becomes a ruthless test of that razor-sharp horn. The rhinoceros is the armored tank of the savanna, built like a fortress and armed with a razor-sharp horn that radiates raw power, despite its overwhelming strength. Even this giant occasionally draws the attention of a cunning pack of African wild dogs. In these rare encounters, the pack relies on harassment tactics, circling relentlessly, probing for any sign of weakness. Yet a single thunderous charge or a forceful snort from the rhino is often enough to send the smaller predators scattering. The clash is a striking contrast brute. Muscular dominance on one side, calculated agility and opportunism on the other, an intense standoff where even a coordinated pack struggles to shake this living fortress. There's a dramatic reversal of roles when the cunning leopard decides to become the hunter instead of the one hiding. Taking advantage of a moment when the wild dogs are busy enjoying their late lunch, the leopard bursts out of the bushes like an arrow, using its terrifying speed and raw power to shock the pack. Caught completely off guard by the sudden aggression of the spotted assassin, the wild dogs scatter in confusion. Abandoning the prey they had just hunted, they rush after the leopard, but the clever predator surrounded by the aggressive pack of wild dogs barking loudly to intimidate it. The leopard quickly relies on its natural climbing ability to escape. In a split second, it bursts upward and races straight to the top of a towering tree, leaving the large group of frustrated opponents leaping helplessly below. The pack closes in and finally brings the waterbuck down through seamless coordination and relentless pressure. Rather than ending the struggle immediately, they pace the kill strategically, preserving the resource to sustain the entire pack amid the constant threat of competing predators nearby. Despite fighting to her very last breath, the waterbuck ultimately succumbs to the persistence and calculated brutality of some of the savanna's most elite hunters. On the open plains of the Okavango, a leopard has just taken down its prey when it suddenly finds itself facing a pack of aggressive wild dogs. Instead of backing off before the lone predator's power, the dogs move in with perfect coordination, using sharp, piercing barks and constant snapping bites to surround and overwhelm their rival. Realizing the numbers are heavily against it, the leopard has no choice but to abandon the fresh kill and The warthog, a battle-hardened fighter armed with razor-sharp tusks, faces a life-or-death trial after falling into the encirclement of an elite pack of wild dogs. A suffocating clash of instincts unfolds, pitting fearless defiance against some of the most disciplined pack tactics on the African continent. Can the warthog's sheer grit and resilience tear through the snapping jaws of the savanna's ghosts and carve out one final chance at survival? Coordination and perfectly timed, strategic bites, the pack of wild dogs ultimately brings the massive wildebeest under complete control. Overwhelmed by their blistering speed and a relentless encirclement that leaves no escape, the giant soon begins to tire. In the end, the powerful grazer collapses, defeated by the brutal efficiency and collective. At the mouth of the burrow, the wild dogs patiently lay siege, tightening their formation around the fighter holding his ground in the shadows. With razor-sharp tusks aimed straight at his enemies, the warthog suddenly explodes forward in a thunderous burst of speed, tearing through the encirclement and making a breathtaking escape, leaving the stunned pack scrambling in disbelief. Turning itself into a living fortress, The antelope unleashes thunderous back kicks and swings its razor-sharp horns to drive away every wave of attack. Against this solid wall of defense, the pack of wild dogs, despite their frantic attempts to surround and overwhelm, finds themselves completely powerless. The hunt stalls in a tense deadlock, where the prey's beneath the harsh blaze of the savanna sun, the wild dog's encirclement seals off every last escape for the warthog. Overwhelmed by the pack's ruthless, coordinated assault, the battered fighter finally collapses, surrendering to the savage tearing of relentless jaws. It is a tragic yet unflinching reflection of nature's unforgiving law of survival. If wild dogs represent discipline and speed, then the hyena stands as the embodiment of brute strength and ruthless cunning, armed with jaws powerful enough to crush bone. The hyena is the ultimate opportunistic raider, always ready to snatch victory from the hard work of others. When these two predators collide, it becomes far more than a fight over a carcass. It's a fiery showdown between agile packs. Out on the open savanna, the African wild dog pack locks onto a newborn buffalo calf as its next target. Exploiting the calf's fragility and a fleeting lapse in the mother's guard, they apply relentless pressure, working methodically to isolate the vulnerable young. Though the mother fights back in desperation, the suffocating force of so many coordinated predators The leopard is known as the savanna's silent assassin, armed with incredible camouflage and unmatched climbing ability. However, it often finds itself at a disadvantage when facing African wild dogs, animals whose strength lies in their terrifying teamwork and pack discipline. Even though the leopard possesses powerful jaws and superior muscle, the relentless circle of snapping bites from multiple directions usually forces the lone hunter to back down to stay alive. The leopard often makes a quick escape up a tall tree, watching from above as its hard-earned prey is stolen by the pack, an unfortunate but wise decision from a seasoned survivor of the wild. The footage captures a dramatic reversal of roles when the cunning leopard decides to become the hunter instead of the one hiding. Taking advantage of a moment when the wild dogs are busy enjoying their late lunch, the leopard bursts out of the bushes like an arrow, using its terrifying speed and raw power to shock the pack. Caught completely off guard by the sudden aggression of the spotted assassin, the wild dogs scatter in confusion. Abandoning the prey they had just hunted, they rush after the leopard, but the clever predator has already leapt up into the safety of a tall tree. Surrounded by the aggressive pack of wild dogs barking loudly to intimidate it, the leopard quickly relies on its natural climbing ability to escape. In a split second, it bursts upward and races straight to the top of a towering tree, leaving the large group of frustrated opponents leaping helplessly below. Faced with the fierce circle of wild dogs closing in, the leopard doesn't choose to fight to the death, but instead displays its masterful escape skills. With one powerful surge of its body, it shoots straight up the vertical trunk of a tree, leaving behind the desperate barking and the pack's helpless leaps below. On the open plains of the Okavango, a leopard has just taken down its prey when it suddenly finds itself facing a pack of aggressive wild dogs. Instead of backing off before the lone predator's power, the dogs move in with perfect coordination, using sharp, piercing barks and constant snapping bites to surround and overwhelm their rival. Realizing the numbers are heavily against it, the leopard has no choice but to abandon the fresh kill and retreat up a nearby tree. From high above, it can only watch helplessly as the wild dogs tear into the stolen prize in a dramatic display of teamwork and ruthless pack discipline. As the aggressive pack of wild dogs rushes in to surround and steal the kill, the leopard quickly realizes the odds are stacked against it and chooses not to fight, to preserve its life. It abandons the hard-earned prey and slips quietly into the thick nearby bushes. From its hidden refuge, the lone assassin silently watches the wild dogs tear into the meal that once belonged to it, accepting defeat against the power of the pack while patiently waiting for another opportunity. Speed, endurance, and remarkable teamwork have made African wild dogs some of nature's most extraordinary survival warriors. Every hunt stands as proof of the incredible power of the pack. If you enjoy